Some Harleys are so utterly worthless, buying one should come with a financial advisor and a reality check. This is the brutal countdown of 10 Harley-Davidsons only very dumb people buy. And if yours is on here, it's time to face the music. We're starting with the biggest wallet drainer of them all. Number 10. 2009 to 2016 Harley-Davidson touring models with twin cam 103. Let's kick this off with America's most beloved disappointment, the twin cam 103 in those touring bikes. You know the ones I'm talking about. The Road King, Street Glide, and Electra Glide that every weekend warrior thinks makes them look like a badass cruising down Main Street. Here's the brutal truth. These engines are ticking time bombs wrapped in chrome and false promises. The twin cam 103 has a fatal flaw that Harley knew about but kept selling anyway. Cam chain tensioner failure. When that tensioner goes, and it will go, you're looking at catastrophic engine damage. We're talking bent valves, destroyed pistons, and a rebuild that'll cost you more than a decent used car. I've seen guys drop $8,000 to $12,000 trying to fix what should have been a bulletproof American V-twin. The worst part? Harley's fix was a joke. They issued a recall, slapped on a slightly different tensioner, and called it good. Spoiler alert, it wasn't good. But here's where it gets really stupid. These bikes depreciate faster than a rock falling off a cliff. You buy one new for $25,000, thinking you're investing in American iron and freedom. 3 years later, you're lucky to get $15,000 for it, assuming the engine hasn't grenaded itself. Smart riders knew to avoid these years like the plague, but every weekend there's some poor sucker at the dealership signing papers on a classic 2014 Street Glide, thinking he's getting a deal. Brother, the only deal you're getting is a one-way ticket to financial regret. And don't even get me started on the oil pump drive issues that can leave you stranded on the side of the highway with a seized engine and a tow truck bill that'll make your wallet weep. Number 9. Harley-Davidson Street 500 or 750, 2014 to 2020. Oh, the Street Series. Harley's brilliant plan to attract younger riders by building the most un-Harley Harley ever made. These bikes are so bad, they make a Sportster look like a touring machine. First red flag? They're not even made in America. That's right, your American Harley was built in India by people who probably never saw a real Harley until they started bolting these things together. The Street 500 makes a pathetic 34 horsepower. Let that sink in. 34 horsepower from a 494 cubic centimeter engine in 2024. My neighbor's riding mower has more grunt. The 750 isn't much better at 53 horsepower, but at least it can merge onto a highway without causing a traffic jam. The build quality is exactly what you'd expect from the cheapest Harley ever made. Plastic fantastic with the structural integrity of a beer can. The suspension feels like it was designed by someone who'd never ridden a motorcycle. And the brakes require the kind of advanced planning usually reserved for space missions. Here's the kicker. These bikes were supposed to be affordable Harleys for new riders. Affordable at $7,000 to $8,000 for a bike that rides worse than a $3,000 Honda Rebel. New riders bought these thinking they were getting into the Harley family, only to discover they'd been sold a badge-engineered disappointment that real Harley guys wouldn't be caught dead on. Resale values are in the toilet, parts are expensive because nobody makes aftermarket stuff for them, and the riding experience is about as exciting as watching paint dry. If you wanted to turn someone off motorcycles forever, you'd hand them the keys to a Street 500. The vibration at highway speeds will rattle your teeth loose, and the heat from that air-cooled engine will cook your legs like you're sitting on a hibachi grill. Number 8. Harley-Davidson LiveWire, 2019 to 2022. The LiveWire, Harley's $30,000 answer to a question nobody asked. This electric motorcycle represents everything wrong with modern Harley-Davidson. Overpriced, under-engineered, and completely missing the point of what makes a Harley special. It's like they took everything that makes a Harley and threw it in the trash, then charged premium prices for the privilege. Let's start with the obvious. It doesn't sound like a Harley. It doesn't feel like a Harley. It doesn't even look like a proper Harley. What you get is a $30,000 electric scooter with delusions of grandeur in a range that'll barely get you to the next county. In real-world riding, you're looking at maybe 100 miles before you're hunting for a charging station like a desperate man looking for a bathroom. And when you find that charging station, you better have a good book, because you're going to be there for a while. The target market for this thing was supposed to be environmentally conscious riders who wanted the Harley brand without the noise and emissions. What they got was a bike that costs twice as much as a Zero SRF, performs worse, and has all the soul of a kitchen appliance. The few people who bought these things new are now trying to unload them for half what they paid, and even at those prices, they're sitting unsold. Harley eventually spun the LiveWire off into its own brand because even they realized slapping the Harley name on an electric bike was like putting ketchup on a ribeye steak. Technically possible, but fundamentally wrong. The charging infrastructure in most of America is still a joke, which means you're basically buying a very expensive paperweight that occasionally makes whirring noises. Number 7. 2007 to 2017 Harley-Davidson Sportster 883 Iron. The Iron 883. Harley's idea of a tough, entry-level bike that's about as tough as a wet paper bag. This bike was marketed to young riders and people who wanted that authentic Harley experience without the authentic Harley price tag. What they got was an underpowered, uncomfortable, overpriced machine that's guaranteed to make you hate riding within 6 months. Let's talk about that 883 cubic centimeters Evolution engine. It makes a whopping 50 horsepower on a good day. That's barely enough to get out of its own way, let alone haul your ass up a decent hill or merge safely onto an interstate. The riding position is pure punishment. Forward controls that put your feet in the next zip code while cramming your knees into your chest. The suspension is so basic it makes a hardtail look comfortable, and the seat is apparently designed by someone who hates the human tailbone. But here's where it gets really stupid. People buy these thinking they're getting a real Harley experience. Brother, the only experience you're getting is buyer's remorse and a sore back. The Iron 883 is Harley's way of getting you hooked on the brand so you'll trade up to something that actually works. It's like a drug dealer giving you a free taste, except the free taste costs $9,000 and rides like a shopping cart with a bad wheel. Smart riders skip this entirely and buy a used Dyna or save up for a real bike. The Iron 883 is training wheels for people who should know better. And if you think the performance is bad, wait until you try to take a passenger. That pillion seat is basically a medieval torture device, and the bike struggles to maintain highway speeds with 2 people aboard. You'll be that guy holding up traffic in the right lane while semis blow past you like you're standing still. Number 6. Harley-Davidson V-Rod, 2002 to 2017. The V-Rod, Harley's midlife crisis in motorcycle form. This bike represents what happens when a company known for making agricultural equipment with wheels decides to build a performance motorcycle. It's the motorcycle equivalent of your 50-year-old uncle wearing skinny jeans and a backwards cap to connect with the youth. Powered by a Porsche-designed Revolution engine, the V-Rod was Harley's attempt to attract riders who wanted something that could actually take a corner without scraping half the bike on the asphalt. The problem is, it tries to be everything to everyone and ends up being nothing to anyone. It's too sporty for traditional Harley riders who want that classic V-twin rumble, and too heavy and weird for sport bike guys who want actual performance. The V-Rod weighs 670 pounds and handles like a drunk rhinoceros. Despite having a relatively modern engine, it gets terrible fuel economy and sounds like an angry sewing machine instead of a proper Harley. Traditional Harley riders rejected it for not being authentic enough, while performance riders laughed at its weight and handling. The result? A bike that pleased nobody and confused everybody. Values have been falling for years, and finding parts is becoming a nightmare as Harley pretends these bikes never existed. If you want a Harley, buy a real one. If you want performance, buy a sport bike. The V-Rod is the worst of both worlds wrapped in chrome and disappointment. The liquid cooling system is another headache waiting to happen. And when it does, you'll be looking at repair bills that would make a BMW owner wince. Plus, that radiator sticking out like a sore thumb completely ruins the classic Harley aesthetic that most riders are actually looking for. Number 5. 2017 to 2020 Harley-Davidson Milwaukee-Eight 107 Touring Models. The The Milwaukee-Eight 107 was supposed to be Harley's redemption after the twin-cam disasters. What we got instead was a different set of problems wrapped in the same overpriced touring package. These engines run hotter than a blast furnace in August. And if you live anywhere south of the Mason-Dixon line, you're going to get cooked like a Thanksgiving turkey every time you ride. The heat issue isn't just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. The rear cylinder runs so hot, it can literally burn your leg through your jeans. Harley's solution? They tell you to buy their overpriced cooling accessories or just deal with it. Meanwhile, you're sitting in traffic, feeling like you're straddling a barbecue grill while your $28,000 touring bike tries to melt itself from the inside out. But the heat is just the beginning. These engines have oil pump problems, cam chain issues, and a tendency to develop mysterious oil leaks that Harley dealers love to charge you $150 just to diagnose. The compensator problems that plagued earlier models? Still there, just in a slightly different form. You'd think after decades of building V-twins, Harley would have figured out how to make one that doesn't try to shake itself apart or cook its rider, but apparently that's asking too much. Guys who bought these new are already looking to trade them in, and smart buyers are avoiding them like the plague. The infotainment system is another joke. It's slower than dial-up internet and crashes more often than a teenage driver. For $30,000, you'd expect something that works, but Harley apparently thinks glitchy electronics are a feature, not a bug. Number 4. Harley-Davidson Freewheeler, 2015 to present. The Freewheeler. Harley's answer to the question, what if we took everything fun about motorcycling and removed it? This three-wheeled abomination is what happens when someone looks at a motorcycle and thinks, you know what this needs? Less lean, less connection to the road, and the handling characteristics of a shopping cart with a wonky wheel? Let's be clear about what this thing is. It's a motorcycle for people who are afraid of motorcycles. It doesn't lean, it doesn't carve corners, and it sure as hell doesn't provide any of the freedom and excitement that makes motorcycling great. What it does provide is a way for people to tell everyone they ride a Harley while actually riding something that handles worse than most cars and costs twice as much. The Freewheeler weighs over 1,000 pounds, gets terrible fuel economy, and takes up more space than a small car while providing none of the benefits. It can't lane split, it can't take corners with any enthusiasm, and parking it is a nightmare. The target market seems to be people who want to look like bikers without any of the skill, courage, or commitment that actual motorcycling requires. If you want 3 wheels, buy a Can-Am Spyder and save yourself the embarrassment. If you want a Harley, buy one with 2 wheels like God intended. The reverse gear is a nice touch, I'll give them that. But when your motorcycle needs reverse gear, maybe it's time to admit you're not really riding a motorcycle anymore. You're driving a very expensive, very slow convertible that happens to have handlebars instead of a steering wheel. Number 3. 2018 to 2020, Harley-Davidson Fatboy 114, the Fatboy 114. Harley took one of their most iconic models and turned it into an overweight, underpowered disappointment that's about as exciting as watching grass grow. This bike represents everything wrong with modern Harley: all style, no substance, and a price tag that would make a luxury car dealer blush. That Milwaukee-Eight 114 engine makes decent torque on paper, but in the real world, it's strangled by emissions equipment and heat management issues. The bike weighs 670 pounds, which means that 114 cubic inches of displacement feels more like 80. Add in the fact that it runs hotter than a pizza oven, and you've got a recipe for disappointment. The suspension is so soft you might as well be riding a waterbed. And the handling is about what you'd expect from a bike designed by people who apparently never heard of physics. But here's the real kicker. Harley charges $20,000 plus for this thing. 20 grand for a bike that can't outrun a Honda Shadow and handles like a freight train. The Fatboy used to be an icon, a symbol of American motorcycle engineering at its finest. Now it's a bloated, overpriced shadow of its former self, designed more for Instagram photos than actual riding. You want a real Fatboy? Find a 1990s Evo model and save yourself the heartache and the money. The modern version is so neutered by emissions controls and heat management that it's lost all the character that made the original special. Those massive wheels might look cool in photos, but they make the bike handle like it's wearing concrete boots, and replacement tires cost more than most people's monthly car payments. Number 2. Harley-Davidson CVO models, any year. CVO, Custom Vehicle Operations, Harley's way of separating fools from their money at an industrial scale. These bikes represent the absolute pinnacle of paying more for less, wrapped in enough chrome and paint to blind a pilot at 30,000 feet. If you've ever wondered what $45,000 worth of motorcycle regret looks like, here's your answer. Let's break down what you're actually getting for that astronomical price tag. You get the same basic bike as the standard model, but with a bigger engine that still makes less power than it should, some fancy paint, and enough chrome accessories to stock a small parts store. The performance gains are minimal, the reliability is questionable, and the resale value drops faster than a lead balloon. I've seen 3-year-old CVO models selling for $25,000 less than their original MSRP, and they're still not moving. The target market for these things seems to be people with more money than sense who want everyone to know they can afford the best Harley money can buy. What they actually get is a bike that's marginally better than the standard model but costs twice as much. The worst part? Most of these bikes spend more time in garages being polished than on the road being ridden. If you've got $45,000 burning a hole in your pocket, buy a standard touring model and a nice car with the leftover money. You'll be happier, richer, and probably get more actual riding done. The custom paint jobs chip if you look at them wrong, and the premium audio systems sound like they were designed by people who think Bluetooth is still cutting-edge technology. For the price of one CVO, you could buy 2 regular Harleys and still have money left over for a vacation to ride them somewhere worth going. Number 1. 2020 to present Harley-Davidson LiveWire, or LiveWire One. Taking the top spot on our list of Harley's only dumb people buy is the entire LiveWire family. Yes, I know I mentioned the original LiveWire earlier, but this disaster deserves the number 1 spot because Harley somehow managed to make it even worse while charging even more money for the privilege. The LiveWire One, Harley's affordable electric bike, starts at $22,000. $22,000 for a bike with a 95-mile range, charging times that require a weekend getaway, and all the soul of a kitchen appliance. It's like Harley looked at the original LiveWire's failures and said, "Hold my beer, we can make this worse." The bike doesn't sound like a Harley, doesn't feel like a Harley, and costs more than most people's cars. But here's what really makes this the dumbest Harley purchase possible. It represents everything that's wrong with the company's direction. Instead of focusing on what made Harley great, reliable, characterful V-twin engines with that unmistakable sound and feel, they're chasing trends and trying to appeal to people who fundamentally don't understand what a Harley is supposed to be. The few people buying these things are either virtue-signaling millionaires or Harley collectors who'll never ride them. Meanwhile, real riders are buying used Dynas and Evos, keeping the true spirit of Harley-Davidson alive while the company tries to turn itself into Tesla with leather jackets. The charging network in rural America is practically non-existent, which means your $22,000 electric Harley is basically a very expensive garage ornament unless you live in a major city. And even then, good luck finding a charging station that isn't broken, occupied, or requires 3 different apps just to turn on. The battery degradation over time means your already pathetic range will only get worse. And when that battery finally dies, replacement costs will make you wish you'd bought a real motorcycle in the first place. This isn't innovation, it's desperation wrapped in marketing speak and sold to people who should know better. Well, folks, there you have it. 10 Harleys that'll hurt your wallet and break your heart. From electric mistakes to overpriced disappointments, these are the bikes that give American iron a bad name. Remember, just because it's got a Harley badge doesn't mean it's worth buying. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our next video, and check out the one on screen now where we break down the Harleys that are actually worth your hard-earned money. Ride safe, and remember, life's too short for bad motorcycles.